Vladimir Putin thought he had U.S. President Donald Trump all figured out. He believed he was controlling Trump, using lies, delays, and manipulation to keep his war in Ukraine going. To Putin, he was the one pulling the strings, with Trump following his lead. But now, that control is gone. The strings have snapped, and Putin has lost his grip. Putin had celebrated too early. He thought the U.S. had backed off. But now, the U.S. is sending even more weapons to Ukraine as Trump grows tired of Putin's games and decides to fully support Ukraine, Russia's biggest enemy in this war, that on July 8th, Trump made a major announcement. After several days of pausing U.S. military aid, including stopping the delivery of important air defense systems, Trump has changed his mind. The weapon shipments are back on. Trump now believes that helping Ukraine defend itself is key to ending the war. We have to, Trump told the Associated Press, AP. They have to be able to defend themselves. They're getting hit very hard now. We're going to send some more weapons, mostly defensive weapons. This will be great news for Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, and it will definitely anger Putin. Russia's leader had assumed that the U.S. pause in aid was a green light to increase airstrikes and push harder against Ukraine. He believed Trump had given him exactly what he wanted. Now, Putin sees he overplayed his hand. His stalling in ceasefire talks backfired, and now the U.S. is done playing games. The Pentagon confirmed Trump's decision in a statement to AP, saying that aid shipments will restart to make sure Ukraine can defend itself, while the U.S. continues working toward lasting peace and ending the violence. Even though more weapons are being sent, peace is still Trump's goal. But Trump's latest decision shows that he now understands something important. Peace will only happen if the U.S. puts real pressure on Putin. The U.S. can't let Russia gain the upper hand or feel like it's winning the war. If that happens, Putin will become more confident, thinking he holds all the power in future peace talks. And just a few days ago, Putin did seem to have that power. His confidence came from how the U.S. has been on and off with its support for Ukraine. According to the New York Times, Ukraine's relationship with the U.S. has been more difficult than President Zelensky would have liked. For example, this recent pause in U.S. military aid is actually the second time it's happened in 2025 that each pause had different reasons. The first pause happened back in March after a very tense meeting between Trump and Zelensky at the White House. The meeting reportedly turned into a heated argument, which probably made Putin happy. After that, Trump stopped sending weapons and sharing intelligence with Ukraine. But just a few days later, both sides worked things out. Members from Trump and Zelensky's teams met and agreed to a 30-day ceasefire deal. Unfortunately, Putin refused to go along with that deal. The most recent pause in U.S. aid wasn't due to any argument. It was because the U.S. became worried about running low on its own missile supplies, especially the important Patriot missiles. As The Guardian reported on July 8th, the U.S. now has only about 25% of the Patriot missile interceptors it needs for all of its military operations. And instead of sending them to Ukraine, the U.S. has been using up its missile stockpiles in the Middle East. When Iran responded to U.S. airstrikes on its nuclear bases by launching a ballistic missile attack on the Al Udeid military airbase in Qatar, the U.S. used up nearly 30 of its Patriot missiles to defend itself. But now, things between the U.S. and Iran have calmed down. That may be the reason why the U.S. is able to start sending military aid to Ukraine again. Whatever the reason may be, it looks like the pause in aid is over, at least for now, and U.S. weapons will soon begin flowing back into Ukraine. But there's an important question to ask. What exactly will Ukraine be getting? The answer begins with the specific shipments that the U.S. had paused a few days ago. According to AP News, those shipments included Patriot missiles, Hellfire missiles, howitzer rounds, and guided multiple launch rocket systems, also called GMLRS, along with many other types of ammunition. All of these are very important. The Patriot missiles will help protect Ukraine's skies at a time when Putin is attacking the country with missiles and drones. The other weapons will help Ukraine defend its territory and also launch attacks, which could slow down Putin's planned summer offensive. More specifically, on July 8th, it was reported that Trump had promised to send 10 Patriot missiles to Ukraine. That sounds like big news, but it's actually fewer than the 30 missiles that were supposed to be delivered last week, before Trump decided to pause everything. Those 30 missiles are still sitting at the border between Ukraine and Poland. Right now, it's unclear whether Trump plans to send all 30 at once or if he'll send them slowly over time while the U.S. continues to monitor its own missile stockpiles. But that's not the only development. Also on July 8th, the Wall Street Journal reported that Trump is thinking about doing something that he hasn't done before during his time in office. Trump is now thinking about approving the delivery of new weapons that weren't promised to Ukraine under former President Joe Biden. According to the Wall Street Journal, Trump is considering sending another full Patriot missile battery to Ukraine. That would be a big deal. Ukraine still needs a lot more missiles to make the Patriot system truly useful, but having another full battery would give the country more ways to defend itself from Russia's air attacks. The Wall Street Journal also says that the U.S. is looking into whether some of Ukraine's allies can send Patriot batteries from their own stockpiles. If that happens, it could mean that Ukraine's air defense will get much stronger in the next few months. The new Patriot battery would be added to the 3 that the U.S. has already given, plus the 3 from Germany, and 1 more that came from a group of European countries working together. Altogether, that would give Ukraine 8 Patriot systems in total. That's still not enough, at least not according to Ukrainian President Zelensky. He has said before that Ukraine needs between 10 and 25 full Patriot systems to completely protect the country.